Question number 2, Jeanette Fitzsimmons.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Prime Minister and asks, did he discuss with Kevin Rudd the report from the Australian Treasury entitled Australia's Low Pollution Future, the Economics of Climate Change Mitigation, that says economies that defer action face higher long-term costs as global investment is redirected to early movers? And if so, what implications does he see for New Zealand?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, no, I did not discuss that report with the Prime Minister of Australia.
Supplementary.
Jeanette Fitzsimmons.
Why is it that while the Australian Treasury now understands that acting promptly to address climate change brings prosperity and a host of Green New Deal jobs, he has given into pressure to set up a time-wasting review with the terms of reference that questions whether we should act at all, and which has created yet another year of business uncertainty and lack of investment in solutions?
The Honourable Bill English.
Supplementary. Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, he did discuss with Prime Minister Rudd the importance of a successful Copenhagen climate change conference in December to decide on the post-Kyoto framework, and they also discussed the desirability of harmonising to the greatest extent possible the emissions reduction regimes in both countries.
Charles Chauvel.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Isn't the real reason for the Prime Minister's government's foot-dragging on climate change policy revealed by the Prime Minister's reference in an interview with Mr Ian Wishart in this month's Investigate magazine to the need to, quote, have flexibility so that if the science deteriorates and the climate change sceptics are right, we have an ability to alter the impact on our economy?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, I think the member can understand how much uncertainty there is around the climate change policy process. The Australian government isn't exactly clear where it's going. The world carbon price is very difficult to predict, and the effect of recession on carbon emissions is also very difficult to predict. And the Prime Minister is wisely making sure people understand the government retains the flexibility to adapt to those circumstances.
Point of order, Charles Chauvel.
Mr Speaker, my supplementary question was very clearly directed to a quote that the Prime Minister gave about the science and whether or not it deteriorates and the climate change sceptics are right. The answer had nothing to do with the science and everything to do with the economics, sir. I ask you to ask the Minister to answer the question.
As I heard the honourable member's question, it was seeking an opinion, and often when the member seeks an opinion, you may not get the exact answer the member is seeking. Jeanette Fitzsimmons.
To the Prime Minister, will he...
Order. Order. The member will show a senior member of the House some courtesy as she seeks to ask a question. Thank you.
Will the Prime Minister instruct officials working on the cost-benefit analysis of New Zealand's emissions trading scheme to take into account the methodology and the conclusions of the Australian Treasury report? Or will oversight of that analysis be left entirely to those in his government with extremist views on climate change?
The Honourable Bill English.
On behalf of the Prime Minister, my understanding is that the cost-benefit analysis the member is referring to has been commissioned by the Select Committee, and so it will be subject to their oversight, and I would imagine any such analysis would draw on credible sources.
Supplement.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, in a somewhat jocular way, I probably inappropriately interjected before, but can I ask you to clarify the ruling that you have just made as to whether a minister holds a view previously expressed is a matter of opinion for that minister or just a matter of fact? I think when government policies change, it can hardly be described as being a matter of opinion.
Order. The honourable member knows that in asking a question you cannot necessarily get the answer the member might want. That has been very clear for many years in this House. And when a minister is being asked to confirm or asked their view about a statement. They are seeking an opinion and cannot be too prescriptive about an answer. Now, I think that matter has been dealt with, and I invite Jeanette Fitzsimmons to ask her supplementary question. Point of order, the Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, on advice from the Minister for Climate Change, I'll just correct an aspect of that last answer. The cost-benefit analysis is in fact being commissioned by the government for the Select Committee, but the same direction applies, and that is they should look to credible sources.
Jeanette Fitzsimmons.
Is the Prime Minister satisfied that the Jobs Summit did not mention in its proposals the benefits of investing in emissions reduction through energy efficiency and renewable energy, despite worldwide evidence that they are job-rich and cost-effective? And isn't it time New Zealand embraced a Green New Deal that tackles the economic recession and climate change together?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, no, I'm not disappointed about the Jobs Summit not prioritising that particular policy proposal because it put up a number of other quite constructive proposals the government is going to work through. But that does not prevent the government from investigating the kinds of stimulatory activities that the member is referring to.
Jeanette Fitzsimmons.
Has he studied the economic stimulus packages of the United States, France, Germany, Denmark, Spain, Australia, Korea, China or Mexico, some of which are actually called a Green New Deal? And when will he orient New Zealand's economic stimulus packages to tackle the triple crises of oil depletion, climate change and economic recession, as these other countries are doing?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, yes, the government has studied those packages and the government has included that orientation in its own package. For instance, when it announced $500 million of infrastructure spending a month or so ago, that includes significant upgrades for insulation for state houses, and the government has signalled an interest in the same kind of package for non-state houses.